Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. My name is Brittnee. So today's video might not be the most entertaining video ever posted to this channel, but not everything in chocolate making is fun to do. So a couple of months ago, I did a pretty in-depth video on airbrushing cocoa butter, and this video goes along well with that video. I really broke in my new airbrush with a lot of experimenting. One experiment was spraying cocoa butter without the needle inside, which is something I saw someone do with paint on YouTube. So yeah, don't trust all the advice you get on YouTube. Anyway, so without the needle, cocoa butter leaked all over into and outside of the airbrush and made quite a big mess. And it has been bugging me ever since. So today I'm completely taking the airbrush apart and I'm going to clean it up like it's brand new for the new upcoming year. So let's get going. Here are the supplies that you'll need. Your airbrush, of course. I'm cleaning my Tritium.TG today. A micro screw set like this. A regular size flathead screwdriver, along with a larger one, and some pliers. Paper towels, Q-tips, and a little needle tool like this one can be helpful. This is just a cake decorating tool that I'm using. A heat gun, and some petroleum jelly, which is just Vaseline. All right, so I've just got the airbrush here on a paper towel, and I'll try to keep all the parts organized. I already took the cup off and it doesn't have the bottom attachment on either. So the first thing I'm going to take off is the tip, and then I'm going to take off this back piece next, just by unscrewing it. This is where we usually adjust the paint flow, and this is really, it's adjusting the needle. So I'm going to take that piece completely off, and then this back piece. And this right here also screws off. That's what tightens your needle. And then carefully pull the needle out. You can see there's some cocoa butter, some pink cocoa butter. Maybe I should have heated this up with the heat gun first. It would have made it a little bit easier because this was a little bit tight in here. So you could do that, just keep that in mind, because the cocoa butter has set up. So if there's, cocoa butter floating around in here, it's firm, and so it's a little bit sticky to pull the pieces apart. I think for the next part I will do that just to make things easier. So let me grab my heat gun real quick. So I'm just gonna turn it on low and just run over it a little bit just to melt it really. And there is already some cocoa butter just like on the outside that I didn't clean off last time. So I'm just going to wipe it while I can, may as well. Okay, now continuing on with the back part. Need to unscrew this piece, and it's a little difficult. Okay, I can't get this with my bare hands, so I'm going to protect this with a paper towel and see if I can loosen it with a tool. There we go. I'm going to try to keep these in order as I do this. So this part has a spring inside. So once you get it loosened, unscrew it and just make sure the spring doesn't go flying. Take the spring out. Then there's this piece. This is it. This is where my cocoa butter leaked into. Well, it leaked into everywhere in here. Yeah, but anyway. So now we've got all the back pieces pulled out. Okay, now continuing on from the back to the front, there's just this piece I need to take off, and I don't have a tiny little wrench. So once again, I just want to protect the metal and be careful. But basically I'm going to just use these pliers to pinch here and twist the top nozzle off. You can use the paper towel to poke this through. Keep it kind of held there. It doesn't take much just to loosen it, and then I can do it with my fingers like this. Okay, so that goes at the front. Now we're going to take apart this bottom, and basically same thing. I need, oh, actually, this nut is not that tight, so I can just do it with my fingers like this. Now I'll stack the side or the handle pieces over here on the side. Okay, so next I take the handle off, and then I'm going to unscrew this part. You may or may not need help with the pliers, but it looks like I'm able to get it with just my hand. Okay, so there's this piece. It looks like that. It goes inside there, so we'll set it over here. So there is another piece inside here. This piece, it goes on top of here. So you want to make sure you don't lose that. This is where the jelly will come in handy later. We might need to re-grease that before we put it together. Okay. Okay, now I'm going to take this piece off. So I need to get out, whoops, I think I just tightened it. My little mini screwdriver here. I've never used this. I bought it specifically for this. So I need to find the right size for this screw here. So it's a flat head, and maybe, yeah, 3.0 looks right. Gotta balance it there. Okay. Awesome. Once you get it loose, you can finish with your finger. Look at that. Pink cocoa butter. I'm telling you. It's only pink because the pink is the color I was experimenting with. And I'm telling you, if you guys don't take out your needle, you're not going to have a messy airbrush like me, because everything will stay contained, I think. Because I've used this for so many different colors at this point. What would be in here that I'm finding would probably be brown, but since it's just pink cocoa butter, you can tell that that's, yep, my needleless airbrush experiment is what caused this. Oh, and you might wonder why I was doing it without the needle. It was like, and it worked, but it made a mess. It makes like a really cool like splatter pattern. So that's why I was testing it, but I've learned my lesson. I'm not going to do it again. I'm trying to stay organized. I'm going to keep the trigger with the screw that goes with it over here. And next I'm going to take out this little screw on the bottom. So once again, I need to find an attachment that fits, and it looks pretty small. So, okay, that feels too small. It has to be this one then. Okay, I cannot get it, and it's definitely not smaller than that. I don't want to ruin the screw. Okay, the plus, the normal, what do you call the normal tip of a screw? Plus, you know, just an X. Didn't work. I had to use the little flathead because however they screwed this in, it was already a little bit ground down. Okay, so I don't want to lose this, but I did this after the trigger, so I'll put it here next to that so I can try to kind of keep things in order. Now I need to unscrew this. So I actually need a regular size flathead screwdriver. So let me go find one. And look at that, I have one. I literally didn't know if I did. And it looks like it'll just be big enough. So there's like this, you'll see if you take yours apart that there's this piece in there and you can fit the flathead screwdriver in there. More pink cocoa butter. This is going to feel so good to have clean. Because every time I use it, a little bit, I can like see a little bit of pink cocoa butter always leaking out right here. So this will be nice to have a fully clean airbrush again, like brand new. Okay, I've unscrewed it enough to where I can maybe show you with my fingers so you can see better. Okay, this piece comes out like that. And there's another spring. I'm wondering if it's a little bit glued in there. Yes, that is why. The spring. There it comes. Yep. See, the cocoa butter can be a little sticky. Okay, so there's our spring. It actually goes in this order. See, look at this. This is what I couldn't get clean unless I took this apart. Oh, this feels so good to do this. Okay. Now the next part is another regular screw size, but it's the smaller one. And this is a nice screwdriver. I think this size will work. You can see it in here if you look. And while I'm doing this, I'm just going to take it completely apart. Maybe if you're cleaning yours, you don't need to do you don't need to take it totally apart, but I don't know, that there might not be more pink cocoa butter hiding in this part, so I am taking it apart as much as I can. So, oh no, my screwdriver isn't thin, so it doesn't fit in there. Well, now I have a problem, but I'm a problem solver, so look at that. It's not on tight, so it's not like I need a ton of force. So I guess if you have one of these interchangeable ones, just use it without the handle. Okay. Got that little piece out. It's like a little screw with a top like that. So there should be a seal on top of that. I think I see it in there. I don't know if I should try to get it out or not. Okay, I got a couple other things in case I need them. I'm just gonna start with this. I don't want to ruin anything. Jeez. Well, if I'm looking down here, I can see, I think there's a white seal. We'll see. Maybe I can find it later. This is my first time doing this, if you didn't know. But hopefully it'll help you guys if you have this airbrush or something similar. I think this is the last, the rest of this doesn't come apart, but there is a piece in here I need to get out. So I'm going to stick that tool down there like that. Okay, and I think I got it. So this goes with the handle over here. I wish it broke down a little bit more because this is basically where all the leakage happened, right? But I'll do my best to clean inside of this hole and back here. So now I'm going to clean all the pieces. What I'm going to do is basically just warm them up and wipe, like melt the cocoa butter and then wipe them off. And I think that'll pretty much do it. If any of them are like really hard to get clean, I might wash them with some soap and water carefully. But I'll see what I can do with just the heat gun. So I'm just gonna go through that. Try to keep everything in order as I do it. Like, if it doesn't need to be washed with soap and water, then I'm not going to bother. The needle looks great. I think if I just roll this up really tight, I can stick it in there. Oh yeah, it worked. Enough to clean. Just gotta get creative. Yes, look at that evidence. Since that came out so pink, I'm going to do it one more time. Okay, I'm gonna call that good. Looks really clean. That looks good. Okay, so all these top pieces are done. Yeah, I'll move on to the trigger now. Warm it up. This is a little bit stained, as you can tell from cocoa butters, and I don't know that I'll be able to get that off, but I might try to wash that with soap. Just like using my nail to spin this and go through all the threading of the screw. And if I can get it all by doing that, then I don't have to wash it with soap and water, which is good because then I don't have to wait for it to dry. Or dry it. And I think I got it all. Now it's time for this piece. Look at this. This is probably the dirtiest piece. Look at all that gunk. Oh shoot. Ah! Okay, gotta get my pieces back to where they go. Actually, you know what I should be doing is moving the clean pieces to a new paper towel. That's what I'm gonna do, since I just knocked them all over. So basically, you're just warming up all the pieces and then wiping them off as creatively as you can. Look at this new technique I've come up with to get in that crack. Okay. I'm just moving these handle pieces up because they're already clean. That's clean. The only one I'm going to clean a little bit is this top like plunger piece. Oh, we're on the last piece, but this is a pretty messy one. And it seems like it's gonna be hard to get into. I can see white cocoa butter down in there, I think. There's definitely pink in here, and I want to get it super clean. And what I really want to get clean, because this is where all the cocoa butter came from in the first place, because it came down in here from the cup, and just like, because there was no needle to like block it, it just poured in here, and it was like pouring out the sides of this. So like this is the dirtiest piece, but the hardest one to get into and clean, sadly. So, well, I'm going to do my best with it. Also, just be careful not to leave fuzz. The fuzz could end up clogging the airbrush later when you use it, or blow fuzz into your chocolates. We don't want that. Okay, now what I've tried is I took this like needle tool, I stuck it all the way down and through. This is where like the needle of the airbrush goes. And I'm pulling out cocoa butter. So now I'm bothered because I want to clean that out. I need something skinny like this, but that's a cloth. Silly me, I didn't know why I didn't think of using a pipe cleaner just without water. So I'm gonna try that. For one final clean. I think this will fit, I hope, yes. Oh, but it's a little tight. No, it doesn't, somewhere it's getting blocked. We'll try going this way. This little top knob is a little too thick. Sad. Oh, I see some here too. Okay, and here. Okay. You know what? I think that that's as good as it's going to get. But this part is where the cocoa butter runs out of the cup and through the tip anyway. And I think now that I've got this part clean and this back part, I don't think it's going to be leaking pink cocoa butter anymore, because once I get all these pieces right here screwed in, I think it blocks off this. So the last thing to do is soap and water, but I think I'm not going to, because I think the trigger is just stained, because I'm pretty sure I've tried cleaning it before and it doesn't come off because it's like a little bit rubbery material, and the handle is pretty clean. So I don't really think it's going to get much better. So time to put it back together. This is the piece that goes back in first, this little screw, and this is supposed to have a white seal on it, But like I said before, my seal is still in there, most likely kind of glued on in there with cocoa butter. And when I put a flashlight in, I can see that it's in there. So I need to get that in like that, kind of balance it there, and then screw it back in just like this. Okay, so for this piece, I'm just following someone else's tutorial. They said screw it in tight, and then once you feel resistance, like from here to here, it stops. Turn it a little bit more. So probably what you're doing there is that little white seal in there that I couldn't show you because it couldn't come out. You actually want to go a little bit past it so that it squishes, so that it seals, right? Okay, so apparently next, before we put this piece back in here, we need to put the plunger up through here. So I'm going to take this piece, and this piece. I don't know what any of them are called. And I want to make sure I put it the right way. This cap, the part that goes a little bit to a cone, goes up. So this is where you're supposed to put a little bit of petroleum jelly on and around so things don't get stuck. So I'm just going to like smear it on like that, put the cap on there, and you'll also want a little bit on this piece that's the plunger, and I cleaned that all off when I cleaned the cocoa butter. So put some on the bottom too, and then slip that down in here. Oh, maybe it is upside down. I think it goes like that. Yeah, you can feel that it pushes. Okay, so it's the opposite of what I said. The part on the cap, it's not a cap like you think, that has the little angled cone, goes down. Okay, and then this plunger fits inside the top of the cap. Okay, now you can take all of those pieces together and screw on this bottom piece. Now that I'm done with the jelly, I don't want it anywhere else. So I'm just going to quickly wipe this and my hands. Okay, so that should be all set. So if I'm understanding this correctly, that little plunger sits here. And when this gets pulled back, this is at an angle, so it pushes it down. So this actually doesn't go on totally tight. We need to let there be a little bit of room. So that plunger isn't fully sticking out into this area, so that we can slide this in. Okay, one more thing. Yeah, so you want this part to be facing down. So how you know is if you're putting it in with the angle part facing down and you turn it to the side, there's two flat edges right here. So if we pick this up, I keep this screwed on just enough that it doesn't fall when I hold it. Put this in and turn it so that the two flat pieces are on the outside. Then screw this in tight, like that. Now, if you do this, if you pull this back, you should feel it spring back from the plunger and these pieces. So that should be done right. So far, so good. For this next part, we'll need the big screwdriver again, the wide one that fits this piece, and the spring. Okay, and then we'll need this little tiny screw, the one that went in the bottom here. And I remember that it was a little weird and it didn't work with the regular screwdriver mini. So I have to use the mini flathead. So drop the spring in and then make sure the flathead faces forward so you can get it in. Oh, and then, so this little screw is going to go through one of these holes. So screw this in. Start with just my fingers. Starting with just my fingers. Once I can't turn it anymore, I get it going with the screwdriver, and I'm trying to get it down in line with this hole. This is so little, it's going to be hard for you to see on the camera, but once I get it close enough, I start watching for one of those 4 holes that goes around the circle to come in line with this hole, so I can turn back and forth until I feel like it's aligned well, because you want the hole to be in the center, of course. Now it's just getting this tricky little screw started. Okay, got that started. So now I use my micro screwdriver. Now I'm not going to put it on so tight as it was before, just enough that it's firm and won't come undone, because that screw seems to be getting a little ground down. And don't want that to happen. Okay, next up is this back piece, the back spring, and the back cap. So with this piece, there is a notch here. This goes facing down, the bottom of the air gun, and threads through this little mini screw. So once you get that in there, you can't twist it because this screw is sticking up just enough to be in line with that notch. So put that in, then the spring, and then screw on the back cap. Tight to hold, but not too tight. So just by hand is fine. Now I'll just do this because it'll make things easier, kind of more comfortable to hold. And just screw this on. Just by hand is fine. While we're at it, I'll put the trigger. So you'll know you did everything right because when you put this, it doesn't get stuck, and it kind of sits along notches on the side of this piece, like that. And then I remembered the screw was on this front side. So we'll first slip it in, and then it's only this side has the threads. Okay. Tighten that. And I just tighten it till it stops. Give it a little test. It's working. That's a good sign. Okay, next is the needle and the tip. So very carefully with the needle, push it through. It gives a little resistance through the seal. Okay, so we can see the needles through. While it's sticking out, I'm going to very carefully clean it because it got a little bit more cocoa butter with it as it came through. I'm going to pull it back just past the edge so I can screw on this front piece. And this time I'm not tightening it with the pliers. And then slowly push it through till you see the needle. Always careful with the needle because you don't want to bend the tiny little tip. It will make your spraying wonky. Okay, and this last part is part that's pretty easy. You take that small screw, screw it on tight. Then this part that looks like the bottom of a pen. And then this back piece. It should look familiar to you. This is how I control the paint flow. And for now, I'm just going to screw it all the way. Not super tight, just all the way. And that is it. Clean airbrush. All right, guys, that's how you deep clean your Tritium airbrush. I hope that you enjoyed the video and that you learned something new. If you did, please let me know by liking the video and leaving me a comment down below. If you haven't subscribed to my channel yet, today's the day. If you'd like to see some chocolate airbrush decoration tutorials, just click on one of these videos. Thanks so much for watching today, and I'll see you soon. Bye.